Brian and Sasha of the band Conduit on the podcast with some new music to come, which is exciting. Good to see you guys.
Hi, Daryl.
Well, Sasha, first of all, nice to meet you. We've never actually met before. Brian and I go way back. So it's nice to... the podcast, this is what it is now. It's catching up with old friends and meeting new people in the modern age, I guess it is. So thanks.
Isn't that great?
It is what it is, right? Like... Oh, I almost knocked my microphone right off the table there, too. Brian, good to have you on, man. How's it going?
Greetings, people of Earth.
Yes.
Good to see ya. It's been a little while.
It has. You guys have been active again. I've noticed the Conduit socials have come back to life after being maybe silent for a little while.
Yeah, well, it's not dead yet, so pun intended.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been really one for doing social media or anything like that. That's not my thing. But now we're ramping up again, and so we're putting the message out that something is happening.
So and this is the first new music that you guys have done since the Running Up That Hill cover, which was what year was that? Was that 2017 or 18? You guys did that?
19, I think. 18.
Yeah, 18.
Yeah. And that one that was really cool when that came out, seeing the reaction to that song from people who were involved in the original with Kate Bush. That's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, that was a really interesting email to have the guy that actually recorded the song heard it and reached out and gave us some really nice compliments. And so yeah, it was interesting to see like how far it had actually reached in such a short amount of time to actually the camp that actually did the original song.
Yeah, absolutely. That's got, I mean, as a band, that's got to be like some of the coolest recognition you could get, I guess, when you throw out a cover of, especially a pretty, classic song like that one. That's a big tune.
That's Kate Bush.
Well, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? What can you say? That's like, I don't know, like Mick Jagger calling you up or something like that, saying it's like, oh, Ron, I really like what you did with the song. It's kind of the same feeling, the same vibe.
Yeah, and it's one that's been done too. Like like Placebo did a cover that was very different. They took it a different direction. You guys took it a different direction as well, which is always the more interesting thing. If you're going to do a cover song, do something, like throw it in a blender and come out with something new.
Yeah, it was. I had been sitting on it for years, and I actually had done another Kate Bush track. And I just kind of just sat on it. It was just sitting on a hard drive, and I think we were just looking for something to do, and played it for the guys, and they're just like, hey, we should do this. We should finish this thing off, and then we did and put it out, and yeah, the response was really really interesting. I think it was in the top 10 on like Apple Music for a couple of weeks. It was surprising to see, though, how many people had actually covered that song.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's some, like, in excess of 100, professionally released versions of that song.
Did In Excess do it, too?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's, before we get into talking about the new stuff and what's happening with Conduit now, I think let's just start full circle here a little bit. So let's start here.
Okay.
This is ground zero, is it not?
Yeah,
okay, so this is 2009? 2006. Okay, right. Now, I think we just played Pill for that long that maybe it feels
it just seems that long, yeah.
So track 10 on this album is a tune called Pill, and that one got the band quite a bit of attention. So maybe you tell most of that story, Brian.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, we put the album out in 2006, and it found its way into the hands of Martin Streak. And from what I understand, he got it on a Wednesday and started playing it on the Friday. I got a call from him just saying, it's like, hey, I like the songs, I like the record, I want to put it on the air. And he asked me, he goes, well, what's your lead off single? And I said, well, Burning Inside, which is like track 1 on the record.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, 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 it's Pill.
It's a very Martin response.
Right?
No, it's this.
Pill. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm putting it
That's
on.
the one.
And yeah, he beat the crap out of that song for 2 years. And I mean, for me, it felt amazing, to like not just hear your song on the radio, but he would take it and he would take the introduction of that, with Craig G, right? They would take it, they would loop it. And I remember getting out of work one day, getting into the car, and I hear, so I turned the car on, I started hearing the intro of Pill. But the thing is, it went for like a minute with nobody talking over it. And I'm thinking like, okay, like what's going on with this? Is something wrong with the CD player or something like that?
Yeah.
And then you just
They've
hear
gone
Marty
for
do his
smoke and
thing,
it's
like
skipping.
C, 0, and it just keeps going, and I'm sitting there going like, holy shit! Like the support from yourself, Marty, Craig, like everybody at the station was so immense, and yeah, it actually blew up for quite a while until the formats changed and things like that. And they don't really do that type of stuff anymore. But within earshot of that station, it was a real thing.
You guys
back
sold
then.
it.
And I still get emails and people reaching out. It's like, oh, I just found that song, and I've seen people sell that CD on eBay, and like, or different types of websites where people are like trading, harder to find stuff. That actually shows up every once in a while, and I'm shocked. I'm just sitting there going like, really?
I will not flip it on Discogs, I promise.
Okay.
I keep my stuff. I keep a running collection there.
Awesome.
It is cool though, like the power that, grabbing a song from an independent band, how having that platform, the word influencer didn't exist back then really, but essentially that's, Martin Streak, when it came to music, is in Toronto is one of the greatest influencers there had been for decades. So his endorsement carried weight and meant something.
Oh, absolutely. You got to think about like how many bands that, and not just him, but like everybody that was on that team, but especially him. The number of bands that would not, they would not exist, or people would not know who they are today, had it not been for, you guys to have the license at the time to actually play things that were not part of the general playlist. And it might have, just been on the weekends, but it only took one play or two plays or three plays to the point of where people started recognizing, certain songs that they hadn't heard before. And that's why those types of situations and radio in general and the storytellers that actually go and do these shows are so, so important, because otherwise you're hearing the same 20 songs, just in a loop all the time.
It's becoming more and more kind of that way. Yeah. A lot of that have to, you mentioned us and the team and everything. I think a lot of people in radio want to do those things. Most people that get into it and get on the air have some sort of music passion or drive behind it, but they're handcuffed by, formats and playlists and things like that, right? But at that time, Alan Cross was the program director, and if you could give Alan a compelling reason, here's a guy who has built a career on giving context to obscure songs, and if you could give it the right story, or if you can sell it or give it the right context, then he would give you a shot to play things like that too. So I think having, you got to make the case, but you'll get a green light if you make a good case, is very important too.
Absolutely. And, and Alan's been a huge supporter from day one. He's actually on the second record. I don't know if you ever caught that.
Yes, I did know that he made a guest cameo.
Yeah, he made a little cameo on that one, which from what he told me that was the first time that he's ever been on a record or been a part of one.
Oh, which is kind of surprising, you would think,
It was
right?
kind of surprising, yeah.
Yeah. So, Sasha, I wanted to ask you something because, and I don't want to dwell on like your resume necessarily, but because we're talking about the Edge and that time and that everything. So I used to do the Thursday overnight into the Friday morning show, and this came on after Martin would do the Thursday 30, and then we would do the Mod Club Radio, which was Mark Holmes' show, right? So I would sit there. I have to ask. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I just have one question that I want to ask. So I would listen to that show almost in its entirety every single week, and Mark was an entertainer and quite the host. And sometimes as the night grew later and perhaps the alcohol flowed a little bit more, certain things became more exaggerated, like accents and things like that. And he became more British with every moment that passed on the show. So I'm just wondering where that might have come from.
Daryl, you've got to play football in order to be a fucking proper tosser. Look, man, I've written all the songs, and I'm going to take your fucking publishing in perpetuity. Don't be a fucking wanker. Hello? Oh, boom. Hi. Well, I don't know who that was. Sorry. Well, I have friends that are Chinese and spent a year in London and came back and had adopted the full accent. Sure. I don't know how you can, though, spend, the better part of your life in North America and not somehow develop some hoserisms.
That's a good word for it, yeah. Whenever I voice text into my phone, when I say the word about, it puts a boat every single time. Oh, really? A boat. Because I guess that's what, we don't realize it, but people say that. We say to ourselves, we don't say a boot. But when you say about, I even say it there. It sounds like almost you have like an upstate New York accent saying a boat. Oh, it's about, or it's a boat, About.
When I say that I'm from Toronto, they say, yeah, but where were you born? Because nobody says Toronto with a T. It's all Toronto.
Toronto, yeah. That's every town, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Mark just he was going into character, I guess, is what you were saying.
I would say it's an elevation of that which is, yeah.
Well, you know what? That makes sense. That's what radio personalities do. I think most radio personalities, they take their existing personality and then, put it through the magnifying lens and take that onto the radio, Yeah.
That's character acting and whatever else, right? And that's what you have to do when you get up on stage. You have to become that person, that thing, right? And I'm sure that his following demanded that from him because, everybody needs more British.
Well, oh yeah, I mean that show was British centric.
It was British.
They cracked a lot of new music there. That show was, musically very progressive, and I mean that's why it held my attention. And it didn't just kind of like turn it down and watch TV until my show started or whatever.
Those were crazy heady days for that club, certainly, and it was a great the whole Britpop thing, right? They had their nights with the mopeds and everything, and they were rolling in, and it was all tight suits and good looking crowd.
Yeah, that was a great time, I think. And it's sadly Mod Club is one of the places that has been a casualty of COVID-19. It was a great venue, and it was maybe only 10 years, maybe the Mod Club.
Yeah, more probably somewhere around there.
Yeah,
right before the Virgin Mobile Mod Club. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so let's jump ahead a couple years.
I see. I thought you were actually going to talk about 1991 when they had the Discovery to the Disc program at CFNY, and were you familiar with that program?
I know that they did. They've always done a lot with pushing new music and independent music, but okay, so tell me more about that.
Well, we were their first Discovery to Disc contest winners. for $100,000.
Oh wow, this is big money in '91 too.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
And then that went into the shitter. And the next band that won, I think, was the Bare Naked Ladies.
Okay. I think I've told this story on the podcast before, but I'll throw it in here. I'll throw this in anytime people, because I don't mind being laughed at a little bit. I went to school in Scarborough, and in like grades 7 and 8, so those like middle school years, went to Scarborough Music Camp, which was like your last, week of school before the end of the school year. And because the Bare Naked Ladies, all being from Scarborough, came up and also went to Scarborough Music Camp, they came and played shows there.
Oh, wow.
And this is in 91. So this is like 91. This is right around the yellow cassette tape era, which is, them, just about to kind of explode, which were essentially the first concerts that I ever saw. That you didn't get taken to, with an older brother or a parent or something like that.
Cool.
The first person that said that to that story, it's like, oh, you went to band camp. Cool. Okay, so let's jump ahead a couple years. There's 5 years between the records, and then you get to Year of the Dead, which was had a theme, and this is concept record almost.
Yeah, not intentional.
It has that feel to it, though.
It seems to work out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there was, at that time, there were a lot of people around me that had passed away, like in a very short amount of time, like, I don't know, like maybe at least 10 people. And yeah, it just seemed to be like, just every month you're getting a phone call, hey, so-and-so passed away and what have you. But, as I was going through it and, I'm writing this, the lyrics of that record are actually really positive. Like, even though it's got kind of a tragic, title to the record, it was more, affirming or uplifting than anything else. I mean, it does have its moments, but that's kind of, the direction that it went. And obviously is dedicated to Marty.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. I mean, if we open it up, we'll get that. It says for Martin Streak right there, which is, I thought that was really cool that you did that. I mean, you popped in, we chatted about this. You came through Ottawa. We're still doing some radio then. And was a great chance to catch up and have, talk about this record and get some of those stories with, sometimes like heavy stuff like that is the only thing you can do is turn it into inspiration. Otherwise it's just too depressing,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's, I mean, everybody goes through, different things at different points in their life, and you can either, just sit there and wallow in it and let it affect you in a negative way, or I just try and turn it around. I'd like to sit with it for a while, experience, whatever, whether it's pain or, emotions or what have you, but you got to turn it into something else.
Yeah. And I find when I feel like that, like my outlet sometimes is DJing and playing music, and it's escapism from that. Like you sink into something creative to kind of distract the mind from things that may be heavier that's going on. For a musician, it's got to be 10 times that amount, because you're like, I just play other people's music, and can get lost in that.
But it's not just playing other people's music. I mean, you're looking forward, where you're going to, where you came from. You're responding on a very immediate oral level. It's not just playing.
Yeah, and I find too that sometimes, like, once you get into that headspace, that you start trying things that you might not have, tried before, and experimenting and finding what works and what doesn't. What my main thing now is I love putting together sets that jump through genres and make jarring transitions, but finding ones that work. To me, that there's a lot of fun in that. Like, can you mix Sly and the Family Stone with Prodigy and make it work? And the answer is sometimes yes.
Yeah. Could you do that right now?
Well, I would have
I'd be really into that.
I'll send you some files because just to get it routed into the thing to get proper sound, other than putting my microphone up to the speakers. So
Yeah, yeah. If you can go from like Sly to Prodigy in like 3 steps, that's pretty impressive.
okay, well, I am going to be doing something with Craig G and Revolution Radio, so
Cool.
stay tuned for that one.
Excellent.
So let's get to the new music. You put out the first single about a month ago now. It's been out a few weeks.
I think it's about like what is it, a week and a half?
Okay.
It was something like that, Sash? Yeah, it was about a week and a half ago.
At least.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't even prepared to do that. So a good friend of ours, Ken Marshall, I had played the song for him, like the demo of it, I think, about a year ago or just over a year ago. And he really loved it and he wanted to work on it. So, time goes by and he just calls me up and says, "Hey, I've got some time now. I'm going to work on this." And, Ken has this internet show on YouTube where he's teaching, different production techniques and, things like that. And Ken's a heavy hitter. He's been around for 30 plus years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like Skinny Puppy, Linkin Park, Rammstein. He's done a lot of work.
Yeah, some heavy hitters for sure.
So it was a huge honor for us, to have him actually want to do this. But he said, I think it was like on a Wednesday, he goes, "Hey, I'm going to put this on my show. I'm going to play it in its entirety." I'm like, okay. And so we had to, it was like a mad scramble and we're trying to get the artwork done and everything and get it ready to have it launch. And it went out and it's done extremely well, which is great because I'm a huge procrastinator. So unless somebody actually, helps push the boat out into the water and says, "Okay, Brian, now you got to go. You got to start paddling." So it was a blessing in disguise.
I can relate to that.
He did a great job with it.
Yeah, that's cool. I can relate to that, to kind of sometimes needing that kick in the pants.
Yeah. Especially this year.
Well, yeah, right?
God.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but, I'm looking back over the past year thinking, it's like, what did you do?
It feels like 3. It's like this past year has been like a couple of years, it seems like.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But no, I mean, we have been working really, really hard during this. It's just, because of the circumstances, it's impeded the flow of things and, getting things done in a timely manner, I guess.
Okay, so we talked about how, Year of the Dead may have, some heavy themes, but there being some positive stuff in there. Now, do you have that with the new music? Because you've got a teaser out for something that looks incredibly dark called "Do Not Resuscitate."
Right. So
it's an album of joy and wonder.
It's a love song about death. Really.
Invite the kids and gather around the radio for a happy time.
It's music for cats, basically. No, again, it's like you never, or at least I don't, plan on something conceptual, but I think it was, like maybe about halfway through the writing process, I think we both looked at it and saw that, hey, there's a story arc here. There's a theme that's kind of moving through this, and it's I'm not going to reveal anything at this point, but yeah, I'm not calling it a concept record at all. Sasha wouldn't either. I know that, but I think people might be shocked by some of the stuff that's on this record.
All right. Well, I think if you're doing something and you have that feeling about it, it's good, because it's also tough to shock people these days.
It feels like a mini series. Like it's closer to a movie than it is an album.
Okay.
And,
So that's getting concepty though.
I guess. Like
Webisodes as opposed to movies, right? Like little snippets.
Okay, a little bit more digestible, kind of a la carte stories.
Yes.
Stories for the ADD crowd. Maybe that's the name of the album.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it is really, I mean, there's some of the heaviest stuff we've ever done, And there's some stuff on there that people I think will just kind of be like, wow, French horns? Seriously?
Didn't see that coming.
Didn't see that coming.
All right. Well, that's good.
That's all we're saying.
Okay, so when can we hear some more music then? The teasers are out. You know, do you know when the record's coming? Is it going to be a record, or are you just going to do singles? Because that's another thing now. Soon, yeah.
Soon, yeah. We're kind of sidestepping a little bit with some of it at the moment. There will be some more stuff coming out. There will be more teasers, if we want to call those.
Content. Hey, video content now. Sometimes the clips, and I know that from doing this kind of thing too. Sometimes getting the clips, those moments, go further than the actual the full length episodes, because it's easier for people to consume and stuff like that. So I think like teaser videos, if bands aren't doing them ahead of releases, I think they're missing a huge opportunity.
No, don't do them.
Okay.
Don't listen to Daryl. Do not do those.
Daryl knows not what he speaks.
Bad idea. No.
Okay.
We'll take care of that. And I wanted to do that anyways, because it's like when I write stuff, I always do it to a movie in my head. So there's always a visual element to it, and just until this point, I haven't had the opportunity or the vehicle to actually do something like that. And yeah, we sat down and like, hey, we should, maybe think about, doing something a little bit more visual, because we don't do social media. Like we're not, I mean, we're out there, but we're not there 24/7. But we knew we needed to actually, at least let people know that something's about to happen. And oddly enough, the response to that first teaser was pretty incredible. Some people were actually concerned, like, "Hey, are you okay?" Because,
you are okay.
No, I'm great.
Okay,
I'm great.
Good. All right.
But yeah, it did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Well, then mission accomplished. I can't wait to see more of it. I can't if DNR is going to have a full-length video, the reaction to that should be great, because I mean, based on the teaser, like you said, it's pretty heavy. It grabs your attention, and so I'm looking forward to it. And you can't tell me when that's going to be, but that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, we're working like night and day trying to get this thing done, and we're not only that, and we've got some other people on this record. So there's a lot. It's like, I wouldn't say it's like herding cats, but it's,
Well, everyone's in remote locations, and you're having to do it like this and send parts, and here's that, and okay, you do yours and send it back, and I mean, everybody's finding new ways to do things, but I think this is just going to be the way, kind of moving forward. People are.
And actually, you're responsible for one of those guest appearances as well.
I was going to. Well, I think that's another podcast. Do you want to?
You can say, yeah. I mean, you can say it.
Okay, so I ran into Care Failure of Die Mannequin at Indie Week, and we got talking. She introduced me to Dylan Hennessy, who has been on the podcast, and it surprised me that you two didn't know each other, because Martin Streak was also a big Die Mannequin supporter and had a lot to do with pushing them at 102.1 The Edge, and I, just being a lover of that sound. That it's pretty desert, their sound, and it's pretty punk rock, and like I really dig what they do. I really kind of fell in love with Die Mannequin as a band, and so when I found out that you two didn't know each other, I'm like, how is that possible? Like Martin, like the points of separation there is like one.
It gets really scary how close those points are, and I'll bring one up when you're done. I'm sorry, just.
So yeah, through that, and I was like, you need to know Brian. She's like, you're not introducing me to some creep, are you? And I'm like, no, he's great. I would never send a you have to know this, guys. And you guys have started to collaborate, which I think is, like, to me is an amazing thing. That's so cool.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, some of the stuff that she did on this record vocally is pretty amazing. Really happy about that. But yeah, so Martin Streak's story, Care's story, and Conduit's story, and how it all kind of comes together. Mm-hmm. So I forget what year they did a video down in Joshua Tree.
Bad Medicine. So this would have been
Bad Medicine video.
Oh, this is like 06 as well. It's around that time, I think.
Yeah. Well, if you go on YouTube and see our video for Forever and a Day,
Yeah.
it was shot down the street.
Right. Yeah. This is all near
So yeah,
Rancho.
and it was hilarious because I'm watching her video and I'm thinking, hey, wait a second, I know the guy in that pickup truck. That's Hutch. That's the front of house guy for Eagles of Death Metal. She's like, yeah. I'm like, how do you, or she's like, how do you know him? It's like, well, because we were hanging out with David Catching at Rancho de la Luna,
Yeah.
because we were shooting our video just down the street, and it was hilarious, just like how close we were at one point, to have the same kind of dedication to Marty at the end of a, one on the record and at the end of her video. I was
Filmed
like,
in the
wow,
same
that's kind of crazy.
in the same spot. And to me, Rancho is like one of those
It's so
to me
cool.
is like one of those rock and roll fantasy destinations. I'm a huge fan of Josh Homme and the desert and Dave Ketching, and everything that's come out of that studio to me is just legendary and epic.
Have you ever been?
I haven't. It's like I said, it's a place that's
The house.
at some point I will go to the desert and become one with the earth and talk to the fox like Homer Simpson did. But maybe 2022. We'll see.
Yeah, no, it's a really beautiful place. Yeah, you'd love it.
Yeah. So again, we'll keep eyes on your socials, I guess, for the new material. Or how are you? Speaking of the videos, we're talking about that. How are you doing the videos? A lot of B-roll, a lot of stock footage, stuff like that. I guess because you're not getting in a room with people.
Yeah, it's just guerrilla style. I mean, that's the way we've always done stuff. So, yeah, just using whatever means, that you have available to you at the time. Just bend it, twist it, turn it into something that's unrecognizable, and
If you've been
surf it through.
to a conduit show, I mean, all that background storyline, cinematic stuff that goes on at the show is content shot by Brian, and then interlaced with B roll and some stock footage and mangled, right?
Yeah.
You've been Brian's been doing the video stuff for a long time, and that's probably another episode.
Yeah, I mean, I've just, getting into video work is a whole thing unto itself. I think every band needs someone who does that now, right? Like, I find that most bands, one person is going to be like the pseudo manager who runs like the business side of things. Someone's going to be really good at graphic design, and you need a video editor. And so it's kind of like the media industry where you have to wear a lot of hats. It's like, no, you're not just a guitar player now. You're also the social media representative or something like that. Your band is a brand.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, you do, to your point, you have to wear a lot of hats. You're not going to be perfect at every single job, but at least have the ambition to try, or the ambition to learn how to do something. I mean, I know you haven't been to like one of our shows before, and speaking of the Mod Club, we had actually performed at the Mod Club, it was 2 years ago. Actually, 2 years ago this week, I think it was, and there was footage of the event, but unfortunately, the videographer decided that he had the legal right to retain the footage and never gave it to us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So somewhere out there,
Screw
on
that
somebody's
guy.
hard drive is the last show that we did. Yeah, we spent a lot of money on that, a lot, and have nothing, nothing to look at
Oh, man.
anymore.
Dude.
So, but I'll see if I can find something and send it over to you. But yeah, we did a lot of video stuff. So from the beginning of the show to the end of the show, it's a movie on 3 giant screens, projection mapping, and the whole thing. We go all out with it. But yeah, I mean, you can go up on stage and just stand there and shoegaze and, go, hey, everybody, thanks for coming out. That's great. Or you can, bring an arena show to a club.
Yeah.
And we prefer to do the latter.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. I mean, the technology has allowed artists to do so many cool things. So I think you kind of have to take it and do that now because, there's just so many. If you want to cut through, you have to be unique, and to put on a unique, like an arena show in a club, people are going to remember that too. Like that's going to make an impact for sure.
And we were doing that, like the first
From
show
day
like, back
one.
in like 2008. we were doing video back then. And I used to get crap from people all the time because, well, why are you doing that? It should just be about the music. It's like, well, that's great, but everyone's doing just the music. You know, I'm going to take it a step further and try and stand out because that's, that's the vision.
That that thing at like the purity, you're talking about something about musicians, it should be just about the music. It's also a bit of a cop out. It's like, oh, well, you just don't want to put in the extra work, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that just do not want to put the effort in. They want to show up late. They don't want to show up at all, or,
they won't take the garbage out, and also they don't get dressed for the show.
We're tapping into something. We're tapping into something here, aren't we? Is this band therapy? This has happened on the podcast before.
Let's get it out. Let's get it out.
All right. Well, I just don't think Conduit is that kind of band. Nobody liked it when Metallica put out a documentary and they cried on it. So
the year's not over yet, Daryl.
I know. There's been a lot of tears too. Let's be honest.
It's only spring.
There you go. Thank you so much for doing this, guys. I can't wait to see the new material. The teasers look epic. And from everything we've talked about, especially the Care Failure song, I'm really interested to hear that one, of course. So,
I think you're going to dig it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for doing this. Sasha, it was great to meet you virtually.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll get to meet you at a show sometime because I will get to a Conduit show one way or another.
Or we'll come over for a barbecue.
There you go. My door's always open for you guys. Anytime you're in Ottawa.
Thank you, Daryl.